How's it going, guys? So this week on the PhantomCave news, we're going to be talking about the latest Phantom. We're also going to be talking about a huge update from Neca this week, and a lot more in this week's PhantomCave news. So we have a new Phantom comic coming out this Thursday, and that comic that will be coming out this Thursday is the Phantom in Vietnam, the only one shot away. And that comic, also another story that will be coming out this week, is The Phantom by Gaslight, The Riddle of the Grail Malkin, Episode 6. Now, as I've said in the last month or so, I've quite enjoyed this series. Like, I normally do enjoy these Phantom by Gaslight episodes. I love them. I even love the original issues that came out with the Phantom by Gaslight. Obviously, I think the writer was a mixture between Chris Seguera and Glenn Lubston, and I think the artist was the same, which was Jason Paulos, and they've been doing Glenn Lubston and Jason Paulos. I've just been loving this new Phantom by Gaslight story, and he actually said, I finished up the podcast with I finished watching the podcast of Chronicle Chambers' new podcast, number 199, with Jason Paulos today. And he was actually talking about how one of his original mentors as coming up into like comic book writing and like comic book artworks is actually Glenn Lubston, which is pretty cool. And we interviewed both Jason Paulos and Glenn Lubston. I think we interviewed Jason early this year in February or something, and we interviewed Glenn Lubston late last year, and they were both amazing people. They're both amazing creators and artists, and let's move on. So the issue number for that issue is 1905, and coming up in this week's news, we have a new update from Neca about comic book accurate figurines, but are they? And we have an exclusive talk to Bill Reinhold, who was one of the few people that got to work with Steve Ditko. And you may know Steve Ditko he created, I think he's famous for creating Spider-Man. He's also famous for creating a whole lot of other characters. So we'll be having him on the show. And we have a new Halloween art post from Sly Barry from the year 2002. So in the last couple of weeks, I've been talking about some of the figurines, new updates I've been talking about, which are from Boss Fight Studios. I think we talked about Boss Fight Studios last week, or the week before. And on Sunday, we talked about Iron Studios releasing new pictures of their new figurines. And now Neca has a new update on their new Phantom figurines. And these new Phantom figurines, this new range of Phantom figurines that has been coming out, and all these figurines have been coming out over the last month or so, and the last year or so, is pretty cool. So now Neca has a new update on their new comic book accurate figurines of the Phantom, Flash Gordon, and Ming the Merciless. So my opinion on these figurines, I've seen the pictures. The Phantom one looks alright. I like it, but my opinion on these figurines is that I probably won't buy these figurines. Probably later on when they come to Australia or something. But right now, I don't think I'll buy these figurines, because right now, I think my collection, a collection right now of mine, it doesn't really have any space to put the figurines on. Right now, I've got a whole bookcase filled with comics, and I'm really running out of room of where to put Phantom comics and where to put the merchandise and all that sort of stuff. So you might be wondering, like, the last Phantom merchandise I think I last bought was a board game, the Phantom board game. I got 2 copies of that in the collection, and still haven't played with them, still haven't played the board game as a lot of fans I know have. And that's my opinion. So we have a new exclusive. So that's my opinion on the figurines. You can have your say on what you think of the figurines down in the comments down below. And we now move into the exclusive talk with Bill Reinhold. So Bill is one of those guys that had helped a guy called Steve Ditko on doing the Phantom 2040 miniseries by Marvel in the 90s. Now, because it's Steve Ditko's birthday either today or yesterday, what better way to celebrate Steve Ditko's legacy than to talk to an artist who actually knew him, or to talk to an artist who actually worked beside him and actually did stuff with him. So we're going to be leaving it with Bill on this one, and I'll be back with some more art from the Halloween legend himself, Sly Barry.
Hi, Bradley. I guess I'll just start out by saying how I got the job working on Phantom 2040 at Marvel Comics. It was like 1995, I think. And at that time, I had been doing a lot of inking on other artists, where most of my career I was drawing my own work and drawing and inking my own work. But I had started to ink other artists, and Carl Potts, one of my editors, was the editor for Phantom 2040, and Steve Ditko was going to draw that book, and Carl, like me, was a big fan of Steve Ditko, and so he thought I might be good for it. And so he asked me, if I would like to ink Steve Ditko, and I was like, yes, that'd be awesome, and fortunately I had time to do it. You never know with these things. Sometimes you get offered great jobs and there's just no time to do it. So it worked out. And what was going to be done for this was Steve Ditko was going to do breakdowns, which is a kind of penciling where it's not finished pencils. It's either a more gestural, unfinished drawing or open line drawing, kind of like a coloring book. Where the rest of the artwork is left to the finisher, inker finisher, to add all the details, lighting, and such. I can give you examples here. Okay, this is Steve Ditko's breakdowns for Phantom 2040, one of the pages. And you can see here, all the basic detail is there, as far as good drawing. It's open line, like I said, sort of like a coloring book. But you can see, all the anatomy is correct, and there's a rhino coming at him, and jungle foliage, and everything in the background. Leaving it all up to me to do final finishes on to add more dimension to it. And I can show you that here. These are my finished inks. As you can see, I added lighting, I added more rendering to give it volume, adding shadow and dimension to separate the planes from foreground to background. And when I did this, what I basically did is I looked at everything I love about Steve Ditko's work and tried to bring it to this. Because I didn't really see how, if I inked it the way I ink my own work, I would have just buried his work and you wouldn't be able to see it. It would look like mine, or at least closer to it. And I really wanted it to be more a tribute to his work. So I had in front of me like his career, everything from his earliest days to his later days, and would just take pieces from here and there of the type of rendering he would use. I also would look at his influences, people I knew that he liked, and try and bring all that together. And that's what made it work for me. And the best thing was, he liked it. I didn't know that right away. Of course, I was very nervous about it. But it was definitely something in my career that's a high point. One of the best things I ever got to do. And I wish I'd started inking earlier in my career. Could have inked other old-timers. Old-timers then. I'm an old-timer now, but the old-timers back then in the 90s. Or even earlier. So it was just a really great place to find myself just at the right time where I was able to get this job. So one of the best things about this, one of the things that really was even more impressive, was I got to talk to Steve Ditko during the job. I can't remember if I made a point of it. I often do, if I can. I always like to talk to anybody I'm working with. So I got his number, I called him up, and we had a nice conversation. I didn't talk about Spider-Man or Doctor Strange, the characters he co-created. I talked about more of his current work at the time and later work he did, and just told him how much I loved his work and how much of an impact it made on me. That really made it a really quite an experience to talk to him. And you just, it's like when you get to talk to one of your heroes, you just never imagine it's going to happen, especially at length. You might meet them someplace and shake their hand, but getting to work with them, that is just amazing. And also, Steve really wanted to continue the series. It was only a 4-issue series, and that was all it was meant to be, was 4 issues. But when it ended, Steve was kind of, he seemed to be taken aback by it. He was like, oh, I wish this could have gone on. I'd like to have done more. So who knows? I mean, I could have done it for quite a lot longer with him. I'd always hoped for another chance to work with him on some other job, but just never happened. But I'm just glad. I'm just so happy I got to work with one of my heroes in comics, somebody that really influenced me as an artist. And also, it's fantastic that he got to get into the Phantom universe as an artist, because I don't think he ever drew the Phantom before that. And the last issue, because this is a futuristic Phantom version, but the last issue had him in his traditional costume and in the jungle and all that great stuff that I love about the Phantom. So it was just a great experience.
So we're back after we had our exclusive talk to Bill Reinhold. As I said, he did some work for, and he worked with Steve Ditko. So we're now going to be talking about, lastly, we're going to be going down memory lane as we look at the art for Halloween by the legend himself, Sly Barry. So Sly Barry, he's been working on the Phantom for 30 years. 3 decades since the 1960s, and back in 2002, the legend himself did a Halloween-inspired Phantom artwork, which you can see up on the screen right now. And in the past weekend, we obviously saw Halloween getting into the amongst of people's livelihoods, and we saw a new post by David Barry, who, as you would know, I think is Seymour Barry's son, or something like that. So he posted on Facebook a new artwork from 2002, which I'll be having up on the screen now, and it looks pretty cool. It's got contrasting colours, as a lot of his paintings do, and the hues, the saturations, the colours, people. It is amazing what we actually see from this legendary creator, Sly Barry. And I will leave you with that. And if you would like to support PhantomCave reviews on YouTube, then you can subscribe, like, share, comment what your favourite Sly Barry piece is. And do you have a custom commission from him? And as always, we'll see you next week.